Monday, June 2nd, a.k.a. Jac Caglianone Eve for Royals fans. Welcome into KC Sports Tonight. Marlia Campbell here with Gabe Swartz. Gabe, it feels like we were sitting in these exact seats a week ago trying to guess when Jac Caglianone would get his big leagues call up, and we are not going to bring that clip back because we were both wrong,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of fans and a lot of folks in this area, insiders, thought it would be a little bit longer from now, given that J.J. Piccolo himself said to kind of pump the brakes and be patient. And, I was listening to this press conference from Monday, so a week ago today, when we talked to J.J. in the dugout, and he said, look, what you don't want to do is you don't want to bring up a guy when the team isn't playing well, and, you want to wait until the bats are hot, wait until things are going well, getting some momentum, and then kind of easing a guy into a situation like that. Didn't age well because Royals have lost
aged
6 of their
horribly.
aged real bad. He also said, we want to, it's not like we're going to call him up to AAA Omaha and then say, you're coming up to the big leagues a week later. It was 2 weeks in AAA.
So that was not a lie, I guess.
Not a lie. One road trip, one home trip, and he got the call, which is we have so much to break down on this, but unexpected move. This weekend was rough, to say the least. 1-0, 1-0 both days. Royals on the right side of that on Saturday, wrong side of that yesterday. 9 hits, didn't get anyone in. Let's just open the table, Gabe. Your thoughts on everything.
Yeah, Friday night they lost as well, so they're 2-6 against
lost their last four home series.
Yeah, 2-5 against the Tigers this year, and you're 8 back in the division, which is a pretty significant gap. That not only are they losing a grip on that, they're also losing a grip on the wild card spot. They're right now 1 game out of a wild card spot after, for most of the season, being in a playoff position. And so, it does kind of feel like a panic move, but I don't know if it's necessarily a panic move in as much as it is truly that they have no better options to press, and it is a very good option. And I would argue that there's a little bit of what Jac Caglianone has of flaws. The one thing that people would say is, okay, he swings at a lot of pitches, and he swings at a decent amount of pitches outside of the zone. He still can make contact because he's 6'5", 245 pounds, so he inevitably covers a little bit more of the plate than even just the plate. And so he can have success when he swings at a pitch that's a little bit outside of the zone. With that being said, you can say a lot of things about this Royals offense this year. You can say that they stink. You can say that they're bottom 5 in runs scored. You can say that they hit nothing but singles, which is mostly true. They're one of the lowest slugging teams in the league.
Bottom of the league in home runs,
One of the things that you cannot say about them, though, is that they have a strikeout problem. They put the ball in play. And so on a team full of guys who most of the time are putting the ball in play, you can, in my opinion, you can trade off a guy who might swing and miss a little bit more for the inevitable nature of the fact that he's going to run into some power that the Dairon Blanco got optioned for him. Dairon Blanco is not doing that. They just brought up John Rave last week. John Rave is not running into 470-foot home run like Jac Caglianone can do. He can do things that no one on the roster other than Bobby and Vinny and Salvi, if they absolutely square a ball up, can do. And he can do it more consistently. So I think he's ready. I also think that as much as I feel bad for the people of Omaha who lost out on maybe a week or 2 extra of seeing him at Warner Park, I think that for the Royals, maybe a little bit, they lower the pressure on him to have his debut come on the road. He's not going to have to face the sellout crowd, and that they know, yes, there's still going to be a lot going on when he makes his debut next week and at Kauffman against the Yankees. And I think that they probably didn't want that to be the debut game. Mm-hmm. And to give him a week where it's not a super far road trip, it's St. Louis.
You're at the White Sox.
Then you get, 3 games against the White Sox could be the little jump start to your career.
Yeah.
I like the idea behind that, and I think that my overall thought is that his flaws, yes, certainly MLB pitching is going to expose them at some point. but it's not a flaw that the entire team struggles with.
Sure.
And so you can live with that because he can give you something that other guys on the roster just straight up don't have the ability to do.
I'm curious your reaction to, so for folks maybe just getting in on this news, the Royals announced the move today, but late last night around 9:20 was when ESPN pushed out the news that Caglianone got the call up. Gabe, what was your reaction to getting the ping on your phone? Because I was blindsided. I mean, I was not expecting this for a minimum of 2 weeks. Like, we were talking maybe after the All-Star break. I'm curious your thoughts last night.
Well, I got it on my phone, and I was at home, and so I just said, oh my goodness, it really happened. And my wife said, what happened? She thought something bad happened. And I said, well, the Royals just called up their top prospect, and she said that didn't warrant that reaction. And I said, that
yes,
does warrant that reaction because it was not anticipated. So it was that shocking to me that it elicited a verbal response, and then it activated several different group chats of people with excitement of, when can we get to Kaufman?
Next Tuesday is going to be so much fun.
Who wants to go to St. Louis was sent by several people. So I think that the excitement is there. And that's the thing is, they don't need to be an awesome offense. They just need to be an average offense because the pitching is so good this year. But right now they are nearly the equivalent of the Rockies offense, which is a team that's 9-50. And that shows you how good the pitching is. And I think that there has to be a breaking point of, we can't keep seeing Chris Bubich go 7 innings, 1 run allowed on a passed ball, and he takes a loss as he's leading the AL in ERA. So I think that I'm extremely excited. I'm disappointed that there's not a game tonight. I can't wait to see what it looks like tomorrow night. And hopefully not to stoke the flame, but I'm definitely going to. I think that Kansas City people are hoping that as the Pat and Travis era inevitably ends at Arrowhead, that maybe the Bobby and Cags era begins. And no, they're not losing a year of service time. They've waited long enough into this year that it's not going to cost them. It might cost them a couple bucks, but the one thing that you can say about John Sherman, at least the last 2 off seasons, is that he's been more willing to open the checkbook than any other owner in Royals history. He gave Bobby the most expensive contract in Royals history. He gave Michael Wacha an extension. I think that so you're locked into, at least based on just team control, 6 years of Bobby and Jack together. And I think that has to excite the fan base as a new era, and to see those guys both have the chance to be mentored by Salvi. Bobby is his own player at this point, and Bobby can talk to Jack about all of what the weight of the expectations is like, and also shelter him a little bit because he has delivered on those expectations, and he is that player. He is that franchise player, and he is kind of the face of the franchise at this point. And so he doesn't have to be Mike Trout because there's already a Mike Trout on the roster, so to speak. I think that's super exciting. Yeah.
For context, Caglianone, the highest ranked prospect since Bobby Wood Jr., and the first Royals player to be called up within a year of being drafted since Bo Jackson in 1986. So historic day for Royals fans. And as we've alluded to a little bit, we've been talking about Cag's potential impact on this team and kind of the significance of the timing. Gabe, things are not looking very good right now for the Royals offensively. I know you watched the game yesterday.
Yeah.
What is going wrong? We talked a little bit about this team going on that stretch of winning 16 out of 18. When you look at who they were playing that game, which you astutely pointed to at the time, a little bit of a Debbie Downer when we were saying, hey, they've won 16 out of 18, but they were playing teams like the Rockies and the White Sox. They've lost their last 4 series at home. I think 6 of their last 7, 6 of their last 9 games, once run this weekend. Do you think this move is enough to patch things up here, kind of the trickle-down effect of having a guy like Cags in the lineup?
I think that it doesn't fix everything, of course, but it is better than continuing to do the same thing over.
Insanity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, hits are not the issue. They out-hit the Tigers yesterday. They had 9 hits. The Tigers had 5. Mm-hmm. They just all have been singles. And if you delve into the deeper numbers, Bobby Witt Jr. over his last 90 to 100 plate appearances, his batting average is well below his expected batting average, so he's hitting the ball hard. He's just hitting the ball at people pretty consistently. Salvador Perez has had the same problem all year long, and so that's a little bit unlucky. But you can't afford to be unlucky if you're a team that just tries to string together singles. And this team is extremely below par when it comes to hitting for power, slugging, doubles, triples, home runs. Part of that's because Bobby's not been doing that a ton this year. Vinny had a slow start. Salvador Perez has had a slow start. And just most of the rest of the roster doesn't do that. When you've replaced MJ Melendez, who at least last year was running into home runs every once in a while for as much as he struggled, he's been replaced by the Drew Waters of the world, the John Rave of the world, who their batting average is better, but their power numbers aren't of that level. And so hopefully Cags is able to help in that regard. I don't think that he is – if they are serious about contending, and I think that this is a move that says they're serious about contending, I think the way that they treated the offseason, the way that they treated the deadline last year shows them, or they have shown that they know that this team has a chance to do things.
Yep.
And they've not necessarily even waited until the deadline. They've made moves in June. They've made moves in July. And done things before just the last week right up to the end of the year. And that's the negative, is that the offense has been bad enough that they've been required to make this move so early. But the positive is also to say that Jac Caglianone was in AAA. He hit 6 home runs in 2 weeks, and he really wasn't being pitched to by this past weekend in Omaha. He was being pitched around. And so several of his home runs also came against former MLB pitchers or guys who have had careers in the major leagues. So if he can take advantage against some of the guys who have struggled in the big leagues but at least been there, I think that's a good sign. I am intrigued to see where he goes in the lineup. I would think 6th behind Michael Garcia, give him a little bit more protection, because for as much as he's hit well, teams can kind of pitch around him or not give him great stuff to hit when they know that what's behind him is somebody who's probably not going to punish them much. So we'll see, but I think that I think 2 and 4 on the homestand was alarming. Specifically losing the series against the Reds. That's a team that you probably should win the series against. And then they've given away too many series against AL Central teams so far this year that they are going to have to outperform expectations if they want to win the division later this year. But this is still a team that has overwhelming strengths. And if those things can carry and the other things can get a little bit improved, it's nearly an identical thing to last year, where the bullpen was so bad that it just needed to get to be decent to catch up with a team that was elite at scoring runs and elite at starting pitching. They've fixed the bullpen for the most part. Hopefully they can hold it together with Ursig on the IL. That was one of the disappointing things at the end of last week.
Yeah.
But this is hopefully a little bit of a life raft for the offense.
Well, I'm with you. I wish we could fast forward to tomorrow, and I really wish we could fast forward to next Tuesday, because that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yankees in town. Of course, we'll be there talking to him in the clubhouse before the game. But it should be a lot of fun. Excited to see how he does tomorrow, and you'll hear from him here on KCTV5. Okay, you brought up something that kind of works as a segue to our next subject, which is the bullpen needing to be average for the Royals to have success. The Chiefs need an average left tackle to really elevate from what we saw at the Super Bowl to a chance to getting back there this year. OTAs wrapping up, round 2, I should say, of OTAs wrapping up this week, round 3 next week. Then we get into mandatory minicamp and really start pushing things into training camp. But Gabe, I know you listened to last week's Chiefs Avail with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes at the podium, along with Isaiah Pacheco. I think we had Xavier Worthy and George Karlaftis. Any big takeaways, just because we haven't heard from the team in a little while? This is kind of our dead season, I guess, with voluntary workouts going on. But we get little nuggets of, hearing from the team throughout the offseason, and late last week was one of them.
Yeah. I think that last season I was pretty optimistic about the way that year 2 was going to look for Rashee Rice, given what we saw at the end of the regular season, what we saw in the postseason leading up to the Super Bowl and beating the 49ers. And through the first 3 weeks of the season and then the injury in week 4, Rashee Rice was pacing to be one of the leaders in catches, one of the leaders in yards in all of football. And so you kind of saw, yes, the Chiefs, you can objectively say, yeah, they hit on the draft pick, and then you can say that the rapport that he was building with Mahomes over time was improving. I think that you can start to see similar parallels between that and Xavier Worthy. And so you mentioned availabilities last week. Worthy made the point that he's ahead of schedule this year compared to last year because he wasn't participating last year, and he had the hamstring injury where he was out there just spinning the football on the side watching drills,
which is crazy when I kind of like nixed that from my mind.
Like
I remember Felix Anudike-Uzomah missing his kind of early part of his rookie season with that thumb injury, but Worthy was out for this time of year. And then at the time, I don't think that felt like that big of a deal because he was kind of the third in line, maybe even fourth, kind of fitting in third with Justin Watson being in the fourth swing spot. But he was supposed to be behind the veterans of Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown. Both those guys get injured within the first couple of weeks, and now Xavier Worthy is your number one target outside of Travis Kelce. So
exactly.
Interesting. And another.
So that's ahead of schedule.
And,
And we saw what it looked like at the end of the regular season, where there was several big games. He was incredible against the Steelers on Christmas Day. He was really good against the Bills in the AFC Championship game. He put up one of the most impressive, meaningless stat lines in the Super Bowl that we've ever seen. With the yardage and the touchdowns that he scored, all in unimpactful moments of the game, but still. Maybe a little bit of the unlocking of just throw it down there and give him a chance, because the Chiefs have not thrown the ball deep enough,
which Mahomes talked about last week.
And so he keeps saying that every offseason. So I feel like we've kind of become deaf to it, because until it becomes the thing in the regular season, they stop being more of a check down offense. We will see, but Rashee Rice gives them. I think that you're excited about him being back with a healthy Xavier Worthy who understands the offense more than just the manufactured touches that you saw of them together in Week 1 against Baltimore, in Week 2 a little bit against Cincinnati, and in Week 3 against the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. So I think that's really exciting. I think that they keep saying Josh Simmons is ahead of schedule. That's good news. There have not been any reports that he is behind schedule or that they're trying to slow him down on anything. So that's good in the quest to find average to slightly above average left tackle play. I think those things stand out. And just the level of participation. There's not a ton of guys who are not there, and the people who aren't there for the most part have consistently not been there over the course of their careers, in regard to Chris Jones, who typically has his own
and he was there last
plan.
Week.
So and there you go. So I think it's for it being late May, early June, there's not much you can complain about.
Yeah, that's a good way. That sums it up. I was impressed by veteran attendance. Travis Kelce was there last week. Chris Jones was there last week. He was kind of someone I just assumed wouldn't be because of his typical off-season workout regimen. On Rashee Rice a little bit, I think it was Andy Reid talked about this, maybe it was Mahomes, about the timing of his injury actually kind of worked out to prepare him for this season because he got to be able to start running and stuff towards the end of last season. So it's not like you're pushing trying to get cleared in time for training camp. He should be in pretty good form come contact drills in a couple of months if he's not already. He wasn't at OTAs because he was sick. There was some kind of bug going around at a camp, but and then when it comes to Josh Simmons, sounds like he'll be a full go by training camp. Reid keeps saying how ahead of schedule he is, how well they had, how well the surgeon did, how good the surgeon did. Doesn't matter. Went well. There you go. But which sounds like the gamble, if you could call it that, paid off for the Chiefs in the first round because a lot of folks were here around the time of the draft would have graded Simmons as a top 5 to 10 pick had it not been for that knee injury. Kind of sounding like the knee injury is going to be a non-factor come training camp, but we will see once the pads come on more immediately. We'll see a little preview of the future of Royals baseball tomorrow night, 6:45 in St. Louis, as Royals take on the Cardinals in the I-70 series. And again, a week from tomorrow, Cags will be making his debut here at Kauffman Stadium if all goes well. So that'll do it for us today. Same time, same place tomorrow. And Gabe, thank you so much for your insight as always.